recently rained and you've got a lot of like maple trees nearby, but also it's a Tuesday in August and your neighbor is cooking a wonderful barbecue. You are 32. And yeah, just make me that. Whatever dish is that, please. So you want the special. Yeah, the special sounds great.
Jamie's doing the corkscrew behind. All right,
Welcome to Whiskey Topic, hosted on Whiskey Buzz, supported by our Patreon supporters. It's Mark Bylock, and I'm here with Jamie Johnson.
Hey.
We are back again, and this is our very special holiday episode.
Yes.
I
love the holidays.
You do.
Yeah.
We've done a few different ones. We've done a few Festivus for the rest of us events, which we liked. We had a competition. We did I can't remember.
We did an awards show.
We did an awards show. Oh, that was fun.
That was fun.
It was such a ridiculous award show.
I know.
We prepared like 30 seconds before the podcast started.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like us at all.
No. We sent out an email like a week ago to start this podcast going, so we're really prepared.
You were on top of it this time.
I know.
I wore my Christmas sweater even and we're on film right now.
Oh yeah, this will be available on YouTube.
That's right.
So yeah, our guest here, Cam Millar.
Yay!
Brand ambassador for Highland Park.
Yes.
The Macallan.
Yes.
And the Glenrothes.
Yes.
There's an extra THES at the end once it was bought by the Edmonton Group.
Rothes. It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, before it was that thing. Now, for Patreon supporters, we're going to do, after the podcast, we're going to ask Cam questions that will be exclusive content for Patrons.
Personal questions?
Very personal.
Ooh, I like this.
So the first question will be, what's your most terrifying fear in your entire world that keeps you up late at night?
Wow, that's not personal at all.
Wow,
No.
yeah.
And the second question, light things up a little bit. We're going to ask you what your favorite color is.
There you go.
Okay. I think I'm now going to start preparing for this.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to do something a little different. You're going to be here talking about, we're going to be here talking about Glenrothes and Highland Park. Jamie's got Bill Vinny here. I'm going to do a competition because we love competition. It's the holiday season. Families fight. Let's have a fun fight here. I think we're going to do 3 rounds. We have 6 drinks in front of us here. Yeah. And I'm going to give you guys tasting notes from around the internet. Not my tasting notes, not just random tasting notes.
Amateur and professional alike?
Amateur and professional alike.
Nice.
And the goal will be to guess which of the 6 drinks it is. So,
all right.
So you'll get to guess if it's one of yours, Jamie, or Cam one of yours, and if you can guess which drink it is.
Do we get points and prizes?
Yes.
Yes. Gold stars.
Yes.
Panicking right now.
I didn't think that far ahead. There'll be something.
Okay.
Probably, you know what? There's a Tim Hortons downstairs. Gift cards to Tim Hortons?
Yes.
I just want a donut. Just a sprinkled donut.
Donuts! Everybody loves donuts.
That's so funny. So things like this kind of stress me out, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Cam, when you are out sometimes, but I went to this sort of this bar once with friends, and I asked for a Balvenie and soda, Balvenie 12 and soda. And I got this drink, and I was like, I don't think this is mine. Like, I don't think this is a Balvenie. And then I was like, I almost said something, but then I was like, wait, what if it is mine? And then I'm the brand ambassador and I got this wrong. So I drank this because I didn't have enough confidence in myself and I didn't want to look like a bad brand ambassador. And then I got the bill and it was for Dalwhinnie. And I was like, I knew it. I should have known the whole time. I should have had more confidence, but I didn't want to look like an idiot brand ambassador. But
that's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. And I was like, I don't think this is mine, but what if it is? And like something's wrong with me. And like, what if I don't know my own whiskey or like whatever? And so whenever somebody like hands me a glass and I don't know what's in it and they're like, here, you tell me, I'm always like, oh God, please don't do this to me. Like it makes me crazy. So this game is a very different kind of thing. So it's not making me anxious, but you might feel the same way sometimes when somebody's like, they try to like get you. They're like, here, try this and you tell me what it is. I'm always like, no.
It's a real fear. I remember when I was being taught, we were doing whiskey blending and I think the couple of the guys were like, we're going to get the educator. We're going to get him. Yeah. And so they had the blend we were trying to recreate, poured it in the glass and gave it to him. Yeah. And he's like, no, you guys are off. You're not there yet. And so they're like, that's the blend, to call him out. And I was like, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. Like the hope was to get close to the profile, but he didn't even give them like the feedback. He was immediately, no, you're wrong. And I was like, well, maybe you should have been open to them being good blenders. But, yeah, there's always someone looking to catch you out. But no, it's a real fear. It's a real fear.
Yeah, for sure. So what did you bring for us today?
Yes,
what is in our little lineup here?
I brought some treats, staying in, I think, the holiday mood. I went with a nice bright red label here with the Glenrothes Whiskey Maker's Cut. This is a very special bottling, a little higher ABV. Whiskey Maker's Cut because it comes from our master whiskey maker, Gordon Motion. He decided to make something he really liked which is going to be a sign that I think we're going to like it. On top of
do.
that,
I
I
do.
brought our sister distillery, a little Highland Park Twisted Tattoo, which has a really cool Canadian connection I'll speak to later. And then almost like The Godfather, which is a great movie to watch over the holidays. It's my version of Die Hard. Would be Valfather, which is an awesome Highland Park intense whiskey. And we're going to talk about that later as well. So
right.
lots of fun
Awesome.
treats to share with you special people.
All right.
It's great.
And Jamie, do you want to talk about the verses? What are we?
Yeah,
what's this,
so I mean, I just brought a little collection of a couple things. So we've got some new stuff that just came out for Balvenie. So I brought a Day of Dark Barley, which is a 26-year-old made with a roasted malt.
Balvenie 26. that would be
Balvenie
cute.
26. Yep. I brought a Week of Peat. That one
Love
is
that, yeah.
obviously made with a nice sort of like lightly peated malt, and then I brought our 12 single barrel.
Oh,
So
nice.
first fill, all American oak. So I'll be, there's enough difference in them that like I'm hopeful that we'll catch on with the tasting notes, like because
Yeah.
we've got like a sherried, and then we've got American oak, so like. Those tasting notes should be different enough, but some people get quite creative with their tasting notes, including myself.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
very like I can be quite like, oh, this is like a warm summer breeze, and then you're like, well,
Very romantic.
Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Like, yeah.
This tastes like moonlit dinners.
Yeah, exactly.
That's been my challenge. I've been doing a lot of the advent calendars and some of the other whiskeys
Yes.
I've been tasting. I'm like, how do I not say Canadian whiskey? I do not say caramel.
Yeah.
It's caramel. It's heavy caramel. It's light caramel. It's somewhat caramel. This one might be a little toffee.
Yeah.
How do I write the same thing a million different times and really get specific to the type of caramel, like the burnt
Yes.
sugars, the this, the that.
Well, that's exactly
cakey,
it. What
the-
type of caramel is it? Is it caramel sauce on like a coffee? Is it like sticky toffee pudding, or is it like
Yeah.
a candied toffee? There's so many variations of it. That's when you get into the rabbit hole because there's a lot of caramel flavors. How it kind of reveals itself to you is going to be unique. But
Totally.
it's always
Yeah.
there.
I wrote a ridiculous one this morning. It was like I did like it's like a compote. Compote, that's what you call it, right? The
Compote, yeah.
Compote, yeah.
Yeah.
And like it's like that with a lot of spices, but it's somebody's cooking in like the next room. It's so
Right.
faint, it's so
Right,
far
right,
away.
right.
It's like it's
There's
just
a proximity.
really-
There's a
Yeah.
proximity to it. Yeah.
Because I remember using that taste, like 3 weeks ago. I'm like, but that was like really like sharp and sweet and just thing. Like this isn't quite that, but there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
It's very fun. It's a fun thing. So I picked out some fun notes. I'm really enjoying. So we started before the podcast started. We started with Glenrothes, and this reminds me. Can I just tell you, like, one thing that I really like about this is it's reminding me a lot of what I remember Glenrothes being back in the day. When I first started writing whiskey, there was so much of this in the market in Ontario.
Oh,
like,
yes.
so much.
Yes.
And then I remember like it coming out, and it had this like it had that kind of sweetness to it. And that oak, it was very oak driven, and it just kind of reminds me of that, but it's like so much more amped up. It's just like it's like on this other level. It's like before it was like calm, chill. This is like boom.
It's supercharged.
rich
It's
and
kind of
so
like
nice.
I think Glenrothes is the sharing whiskey.
Yeah.
I say it's a good toasting whiskey because if you have the family over, especially this time of year, if you're like me, I like having a little speech. You know me, I hate public speaking. So I like raising a glass around the table, and this is a whiskey, Glenrothes, I can share around, and no one's gonna be offended by it. No one's gonna be like, oh, that's too powerful.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's a really gentle, soft whiskey. But what the whiskey makers cut, Gordon's gone, well, we have some amazing stuff here. This is a sherry cask. Let's crank it up. So it's 100% first fill sherry.
Yeah.
Non-age stated. So he's just looking for these casks that
Flavor
provide a
profile,
ton of
yeah.
punch, and he's kept it at 48.8% ABV.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
So it's a bit more like that's his number, that's his power, and he likes it there. And you really get this intensity from it. We're talking about tasting notes. He always writes the tasting notes on the label to give you some insight. So he's saying vanilla, orange peel, and nutmeg. I get a subtle difference to it, but
Yeah.
you definitely get a bit more of those higher end flavors.
Yeah. No, this is
Yeah.
the spice on it is really, really terrific. And it's nice to see Glenrothes back in new hands and kind of is kind of recharging the brand. I'm glad that the bottle hasn't changed. Cam's gonna tell me the bottle's changing.
No, never. The beautiful shape of the bottle, it's meant to be that kind of boutique-y, kind of the oddball out on the shelf. And
Yeah.
I love that. And I don't think we'd ever change it. It just, I think, needed a bit more of catching your eye. The vintages we used to do were beautiful in color. Like the
Yeah,
1995
that's
was green. I think the 98 was this beautiful lavender. But then they moved into this tan coloring. And I think, or like beige, and I think it just
Yeah.
disappeared. Like
Yeah.
when you go into the LCBO or any sort of liquor store and you look at the shelf, what catches your eye? It's these brighter colors. It's how I buy wine, really. It's like, ooh, that's a fun
me with
label.
wine, too.
And this is it. Like, we gave it a bit of a shot in the arm with these funky colors, and it's all about sort of art of whiskey making. This
Yeah.
bright,
Yeah.
brilliant colors.
Yeah.
And I love that.
It just occurred to me that now this isn't a huge deal, but given that I brought a single barrel whiskey,
Oh yeah.
the tasting notes on it will probably change from bottle to bottle,
Oh, yeah.
cask
Oh,
to
yeah.
cask. Now, they will always fit within that sort of like,
Profile,
style,
yeah.
profile. Like they always have to fit within that sort of thing. But I'll be interested if you pulled anything about the single barrel. We'll see how close it is to what's actually in front of us here.
Yeah.
Because they can vary so much. So this is just
And
what I
yeah,
was
no one's
thinking.
going to put, I tasted this.
Yeah, I wonder
barrel
if they.
this number, right?
I wonder if they would.
I do, but who?
Yeah.
Like it's like they're supposed to taste somewhat similar.
They are. So we'll see.
Are you saying there's no responsibility for people who comment things on the internet? That's crazy.
Oh my God.
Can't hold them responsible for that? Jeez.
I think one day I'm going to do a show just on all the comments on Macallan, on connoisseur.com, Macallan reviews, because they are the best.
Are they?
No, they're terrible.
Oh.
Can I make a
so-
suggestion?
Yes.
I think was it the Jimmy Kimmel show or the Late Show when it was like celebrities read tweets about them?
Yes.
Yes.
Ambassadors should read tweets about our whiskeys.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh,
I think that would
yes.
be funny because
That would
I
actually be
have some
really
feedback
funny.
for people
Yeah.
sometimes.
That would actually be really funny.
And do apologize for all the clanging on the table.
There's lots of
there's
glasses.
glass and there's just all glass. I'm surprised this table is still standing up. All right, so and this is a very kind of traditional Balvenie. Got the honey.
Yeah.
But what's the candy note? There's like a little it reminds me
On
almost
the
like Pop Rocks.
Are we talking about
Sugar.
the
It's
single
nice
barrel
sweet
or the
sugar, yeah.
dark barley?
The Strickle barrel, right? The first
The
one.
Single
top
barrel
left?
is the middle one.
Oh,
top
okay,
left
this is the-
top left is dark barley.
Okay, sorry. So I'm drinking the.
You're drinking the Day of Dark Barley.
Oh, no wonder. Okay, so that's all
The
that old.
roasted malt.
Yeah,
I love the
yeah,
names of these whiskeys.
Yes.
They're almost like movies. Like I think of like Day of the Dead when I
Yes.
hear this, and I'm
Yes.
kind of like
Yes.
Day of the Dark Barley. I'd watch that movie.
That's exactly what it's supposed to be. So it's part of what we call the stories range, and so like actually you can read the story of the Day of Dark Barley.
It's like a short novel. Look at
Yeah,
that.
Exactly. And then on the tags, you actually get a QR code that will take you to the website where you can actually hear the guys from the distillery tell the story themselves of the Day of Dark Barley and
Cool.
what happened. And then there's like an artist depiction on the front of like the Day of Dark Barley, them lugging up the misdelivered sort of roasted malt that came to the distillery in the lorry. So it's very cool. And all of the ones that are coming out in these new stories stories sort of range have this sort of like in-depth sort of chat, like, and they're quite cheeky and funny, like actually like that you actually have the signatures of the guys that like worked on this one specifically. They've got like a little mini bio. Brian Webster, a mashman, 48 years at Balvenie and Keene Hill Walker. Robbie Gormley, 42 at the Balvenie and part-time watercolor painter, which is true. He sends us pictures, like the brand ambassadors, some of his paintings and poems and stuff
So
like that.
you gave them their age on there as well?
They'll give you how long they've been
how long
at
they've
the
been working
distillery.
there.
Yeah, so 42 years at the Balvenie, 48 years, and then David Stewart.
What about their
obviously,
zodiac sign?
57. One of them might have snuck it in there. I have no doubt that
I'm a
somebody,
Libra.
maybe Ian Millar, put his zodiac sign in here. No, it says 7 years at the Balvenie, Manny to some, God to others. So that's
Oh,
Ian
wow.
Millar for you. If you've ever met
Very
Ian,
humble.
that's not an off statement from him. He's brilliant. He comes to Canada a lot.
I had a lot of fun with him last
But
time.
yeah, so it's so exactly right. Like it sounds like a story, and it totally is. So, but you're finding some candied notes on this one, right on the nose, like
So yeah.
the
it's-
very first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's chewier too. I find a lot of Balvenies are so soft and supple and like effervescent on the tongue. There's a lot of more chew on this, which
For
I
sure.
love.
It's got that sort of richness to it. It's 47.8% ABV.
Yeah.
It's a little higher. I think that the couple that are coming out with the stories range are going to be sort of higher in ABV. But you're right, chewier, nice long finish, just a nice little sweetness, like one of those like, and it's so funny because I hate the candy itself, but I kind of am getting it off this. Those like those cherry chocolates, the ones that you bite into, and they've got like that
yes.
Oh,
syrup
yeah.
covered, and so it's
Yeah.
got that kind of slight chocolatiness.
Aren't
but
those
with
alcoholic as well? No.
They,
Yeah,
there
it
there
can
can
be,
be,
yeah.
and I don't even like them. Like they're not appealing
know,
to me.
like,
But I
yeah.
enjoy this whiskey a lot. So it's just one of those things where I don't know. Maybe
Is it like the bitter, almost like a bitter note to it?
like slightly bitter,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And that no doubt is from that roasted malt, like that heavily roasted
Yeah.
malt. But yeah, this is for me it's such an exceptional one. Just came out a little while ago, so
And that's 26 years.
it's 26
Still
years.
tons of energy there. Lots. It's very
Right.
rambunctious.
Vinny's
Yeah.
It is.
so great at
Oh,
that
yeah.
age. I don't understand how they. The 25. Yeah, I mean, we've talked this before, but the 25-year age statement is just such a great age statement.
Yeah.
Line. Not good on your wallet, but very good on your taste buds.
Very good on the taste buds.
All right, we're gonna do round one.
Let's
we're
do
gonna do
it.
round
Yes.
one.
All right.
This is only gonna include the first two that we've had. So Glenrothes and we'll do Dark Days of Barley. So I'm gonna
So
give
you're
you.
gonna pick one, and we have to choose whether or not it's one
Yeah,
or the
you read
other.
out the tasting note.
I'm gonna
We
read out a
pick
tasting
which
note.
one it
And
is.
we try to figure
Okay.
out if it's his or mine. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ooh, I like
all
this.
right, all right.
So this is on. So I'm gonna whether it's a nosing or a palate. So this one is on the palate.
'Kay.
On the palate. It tastes, and this is a part of a tasting note. Not reading the whole thing, because you know.
Time.
It tastes like roasted nuts and a hint of gingerbread.
Ooh.
I know. Good tasting though.
Roasted nuts.
Roasted nuts.
Hints.
And a
Sorry, that's
hint.
a
All right, I'm
plural.
going back in,
Plural.
guys.
Yeah,
Going
me
back
too.
in.
I'm gonna.
Now, to be fair, I've not had many of the things. I wasn't even sure.
I'm gonna. In ladies first. I think I have mine in my head ready to go.
I think it's mine. I think it's the Day of Dark Barley.
All right, I'm gonna read you the other, the
Oh.
one for dark barley, and then you guys can kind of thing.
Wait,
Oh, wait.
Wait,
So-
is that no? We're not gonna do it that way. We're gonna do.
because you just did you tell us what it was?
No, I didn't tell you.
Oh,
Did
should I guess as well, or should I let it just like be revealed to someone?
Well, I think I have to give you both tasting. I know we planned this ahead so well.
no, because you read one and then we'll choose
okay.
whether or not.
But who? How do you decide who's right? Oh, I guess you choose whether you're right. Okay, I got that. Okay, so you're saying.
you tell us-
I
You said-
think it was mine.
Okay,
I
so-
think
interesting.
exactly.
All
I'll
right,
do
so
the
who
other
is-
end of the
No,
spectrum.
so you're saying it's Jamie's.
No, I think it's
you
mine.
think it's
Glenrothes,
the
Whiskey
Glenrothes,
Maker's
and I
Cup. She
think it's
thinks
mine.
it's,
I think it's
dark
from
barley.
mine. Who is it?
Oh, you're both wrong.
It's neither.
Yeah, no, it's Glenrothes. Oh, you said it's yours as in
Yeah,
yours. Oh,
yeah.
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 Then Cam's
So I'm right.
It's Glenrothes.
All right.
Boom.
1 point for Cam. 1 point for. I guess they're looking both.
Can I retire on top?
I'm losing out
That's it?
on that.
Gonna
I thought
walk
that was a
away.
tricky one. I thought that was like a really tricky note because
It
I
is a
didn't- I
really
didn't-
tricky
I didn't,
note.
I didn't quite get that.
I think the sherry oaks gives it a nuttiness
Yeah.
from the Oloroso sherry, and so as soon as I heard nutty, I'm like, yeah. Going back into it though, gingerbread kind of raises up to me.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
more candy in the dark barley for me.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
if they'd gone more of that candy note, I would have been like,
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I made the guess. It's not just because it's probably mine.
Yeah.
There was some
same
thought.
thing.
to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. No, I got ginger, and that's where I went. The nuttiness is ish, but the ginger was a part, and I would have guessed on the ginger, but
That's from the whiskey website whiskynotes.be, which is, I
Whiskey.
guess, from some European country.
BE? Belgium?
Belgium.
Belgium, yeah, probably. One more. So
Okay,
let
so
me,
is it between? It's between the two again.
It's
okay,
between.
let's
So,
do it,
let's do
it.
three. Let's do three because I think
Yeah,
I've got
'cause
some
then
good ones
we'll-
for this.
Sure.
All right.
All right, so let's do a quiet, long, chocolatey but faint.
Oh man.
Wait, sorry, you had to read that one more time for me.
Quiet, long, and chocolatey but faint.
Oh, but faint.
And that's the finish.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yes. Good. Very, I love
Maybe
that.
it-
She identified the finish. That's yes.
Maybe.
Chocolatey, eh?
I know. Cause
I don't want to think too much about it. I'm just going like first instinct.
Yeah.
I always know right away what I think it's going to
Yeah,
be, just
yeah.
based on what they're saying.
All right, what are you saying, Cam?
I'm going to say Belveni for this one.
I will actually stick with Balvenie on this one.
All right, it is Belvini.
Ooh, 2 for 2.
Okay. All right, so now it's 2-1. Cam's winning. 2-1.
Yeah.
If anyone's keeping score, I'm having fun.
All right, last one. Oh, I can't even read this word. What does this word mean?
I knew we were gonna come up against
All right.
this at one point.
What does treacle mean? C-R-E?
Treacle.
Treacle. It's like toffee almost.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
okay.
treacle
a
toffee.
Really
My father
dark.
loves it.
Yeah.
Bananas, sticky raisins, dark treacle, chocolate mousse, cedar, and fresh leather.
Oh, jeez. First of all, I would love to wear that. That sounds like a
Wow.
fantastic
Like
aftershave.
Like a cologne. Yeah.
I see both in that. Like
I
they
do
kind
too.
of went
That's-
both sides. Oops.
Jeez,
Yeah, nothing broke there. It's just very loud. Honestly, the treacle for me is getting more Glenrothes.
Yes, I agree with that.
I think that's. I don't
Yeah.
know where the smoke's coming from. It could be the wood, the first fill. But they've romanced it brilliantly. I think leaning into it, there's a lot more of that sticky, and that's what I get from that tasting.
And
note.
what was the other stuff? Treacle and
Chocolate mousse, cedar, and fresh leather.
cedar and fresh leather.
Yeah, the cedar.
Oh yeah, I got a mouthful of fresh leather after sipping that.
So I
Glenrothes
was gonna
again.
say the leather for sure. I don't know about this. I mean, maybe the cedar as well. Like,
Is
there
it vegan
like
leather though?
Yeah.
no,
They
that's a
didn't-
good
they didn't-
point.
they didn't
Vegan
specify.
leather is
Specify.
plastic.
There's no plasticky notes in this one.
But like this, it's funny. I've never actually thought about sherry cask whiskeys as having sort of like a cedary note, but maybe
Yeah.
that's what I get sometimes that I pull out. Like,
Yeah, I get it. I don't know
it's
if I'm
this, like,
picking up on this
herbal
specifically.
sort of
but
like I get that
herbal,
herbaceous.
fresh-
Yeah.
I think resinous is a bad thing to say, but you get a woody flavor.
Yeah,
the wood's
yeah,
more
yeah.
present for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Glenrothes on this one. Yeah.
All right, you're both right.
Oh my
Yay.
gosh, killing it.
Boom.
Boom.
Nice. All right, so
It's like
Cam-
we're ambassadors or something.
So it is
All right.
3-2. Round
Beautiful.
one goes to Cam.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Gold star. Gold
Gold
star.
star.
Or no, I believe I get a Tim Hortons gift card.
Tim
It was
Hortons
promised
gift card,
to me.
as promised. Yep. At a large value of $5.
Wow.
I know.
That's a lot of Timbits. Or donut holes for
Yeah, yeah.
my American fans.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. All right.
They don't
all
have
right.
Timbits in the States.
No, the
No,
donut
they
holes
wouldn't,
from
right?
Dunkin'
Because,
Donuts.
yeah. Because,
Yeah. 'Cause you can't
Tim
call
Hortons
them-
is Canadian. There's a couple in the U.S., but
Yeah, no, they're moving into the U.S. a lot. Yeah, no. All right, so round number 2.
Round 2.
All right, Cam, what did you bring for us?
I brought a very fun one. So this is Highland Park Twisted Tattoo 16-year-old. We were
Really?
kind of speaking before about Highland Park having a ton of releases recently, but this fits in at our kind of experimental series. We would have seen this in full volume 2 years ago. That was a 17-year-old all bourbon maturation. This time, Twisted Tattoo is done in Spanish Roja wine casks and bourbon barrels.
Oh, wow.
And so a really interesting combination there. And I think with Highland Park being matured in bourbon casks, you get this tropical fruitiness for a very northerly island smoky whiskey. It's a weird topic, but this one, the Roja, gives it a really sweet red fruit funk. But what I love about this, outside of the brilliant whiskey, is this design, as I put this on the camera there, is designed by a Canadian.
Oh.
Colin Dale is a tattoo artist in Copenhagen. He was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan,
Nice.
home of Saskatoon berry pie. It's brilliant there. You should try it. I should work that into a tasting note.
Yep, 100%.
But he designed this, and so he's actually moved back to Copenhagen, has a beautiful tattoo shop there where he does like pin tattooing with like an actual like
oh, wow.
Oh.
and so it's old school,
Yeah.
and it's the slow process. The only difference between tattooing today with a machine and that is time, which is a great tie into whiskey.
Yeah.
You can make it quickly,
Yeah.
but that would take away from everything we love about it. And so a great little tie-in for Canada and Highland Park, coming up with some fun stuff.
Love it.
But this whiskey for me
it's-
is fresh, fruity, and a typical light Highland Park smoke.
Yeah.
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 It's very light smoked. Yeah.
Very light
very
smoke.
faint,
Yeah, I'm not getting a ton of it. Like, I even get more, like, just a hint of smoke on the nose, and it doesn't really come through as much on the palate, which is fine. Like, it gives it, but it still gives it that, like, nice weight. Like, there's still a really nice sort of, like, mouthfeel to it.
So yeah, tell us what is happening about with Highland Park, because we kind of went from the classic range. You know, you had the 12, the 15, the 18, and then you've had the kind of the Thor, you know, all that range, the limited release, and so now you've got kind of like the other ranges are kind of different bottle shapes, different designs, the thing. What's the direction?
Highland Park's a brand steeped in history. Looking at a distillery in Orkney that's not really changed. The brand continues to evolve. The people behind the brand want to see it grow and become more popular. And the fan base for Highland Park is huge. We want to attract new people. So the new packaging was about just making this award-winning whiskey look better.
Yeah.
And that was really it. Nothing changed other than the new packaging for 10, 12, and 18, the Viking Honor, Pride, and Scars. But for us now, it's about maintaining that core range, which would be Highland Park Magnus, Highland Park 12, and Highland Park 18. That's kind of the core and will always be there. We have some really nice old vintages coming out, but we love telling stories. That's what Highland Park's known for. And with the Thor, Freya, Loki, and Odin range, that was telling these histories of Norse gods, and it continued into our next whiskey we'll go through in the next round. But it's about telling the history of Norse and Scandinavia through Scottish whiskey, which is a weird combination, but we'll always have those, and we love experimenting.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. So maintaining that core range is one.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, let's have fun. Let's come out with new things.
Yeah.
And it continues to keep people on their toes. And we'll keep doing that, but it's always a fun narrative.
I've had the 12 a couple of months ago, a few times over that past time, and I remember like sometimes like the Highland Park 12 kind of disappeared in my mind for a couple of years because it was kind of like it was always like one of the first whiskeys that you've had several years ago. But it's like the creaminess on it, the light smoke, that everything. It's a really fantastic whiskey for like that price point that you're coming in at. It's such a great whiskey, and
It's a utility whiskey. It's kind of, it doesn't fit in. Oh, it's a smoky whiskey. Oh, it's a sherried whiskey.
Yeah.
It's very much in the middle, and I always call it barbecue sauce whiskey because it gets your juices flowing. It gives you the savory sweetness, and it's a really fun whiskey to get you into. Okay, this is a bit different and weird, but it's still great drinking. It's easy drinking and a good price point. And so I think it gets overlooked, sadly, because the 18 is, I think, one of the most stunning whiskeys of all time.
Yes, 100%.
But the 12 for me is just, you give that to someone and they go, I get why whiskey's fun. I get why people want to try all these different things because they didn't know that was possible.
It's the office whiskey, right? The one you would have in the office where you pick it out, because that's what I was having. I was like,
You have a great office.
I was borrowing somebody else's office, and I was like, Glenn for Jameson, thank you. I'm like, oh, this is Highland Park is very nice, because he had a lot of high proof stuff. I didn't, it's like 2:00 in the afternoon.
You need
and I
a
still have a
little-
lot more work. I just needed a little, and I was like,
sipper.
this is so nice.
Yeah.
And it's still 43, and not many whiskeys in Canada at that level, I think, come to 43. They're usually in that 40 range, so it's kind of nice they break that mold to maintain that. It's a beautiful sort of happy place whiskey.
It is a happy place.
Highland Park 18 was that whiskey that when I was the very first year before I started working for any brands, that I was at Spirit of Toronto, I think it was, and I got a bottle of it, and it displaced my wallet in my purse. And did you remember that when I lost my wallet because I jammed a bottle of Highland Park 18 in my purse? I didn't steal it. It
I was
given to me.
were you making off with it?
No, like Nick gave it to me at the end of the night, and so it was, I found it the next day. Like I knew, I thankfully figured out where it had been, but that Highland Park 18, I will never ever forget. Like I will never not think about my lost wallet without thinking, like when I think about Highland Park.
Like you said,
18.
stolen for a second, like someone stole it, but like you stole it from yourself.
I literally like jammed the bottle. I think I made off with like 3 different bottles of whiskey because everyone was like, "Oh, thanks for
It's a
your
great
help
haul.
tonight. Here
Yeah.
you go, thanks." And I was like, do, and then we were at the after party at like Char 5 at the Delta, and then like poof, I go home and I was like, "Great, here's all my whiskey," but then I was like, "Wait." Something is missing in this purse. Something very, very important. I was like, man, I did this to myself.
Jamie, you made the right choice, because I feel like whenever I get given whiskeys at those parties, I literally lose them throughout. I'm like, just at this point, like for years now, I've been saying, just don't. I'm not taking anything home because I don't have a purse.
It's
I
true.
just-
You need to carry
and then
around
You
like
satchel.
an
And
and
emergency
then I have to
satchel.
like be responsible for a bag for the next 3 hours bar hop. I just can't.
I mean,
I'm just like
welcome,
not responsible.
Welcome
Not-
to being a lady.
I know.
You
I'm
need to
gonna
get
get
on
a
that.
purse. Maybe I'll get a booze purse.
You should.
A booze person? Like I said, a satchel would be great.
That's
A satchel would be great.
Satchel
It's
would be
so
more polite name for
refined.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a good suit guy, usually a suit that has like bottle
Yeah,
holders
bottle
in the suits.
holder,
Be like the guy
yes.
selling watches, but with whiskey.
I like it. I also like this. This is great.
Me
There's
too.
the play on oak spice is really nice. It's got kind of like you said, the sweetness.
Yeah.
But it's not like sorry, I'm distracted by the actual tasting notes that somebody else wrote, so I'm like,
Don't be swayed. Don't be swayed.
I'm already kind of figuring out which is going to be which, but no, this is very nice. The kind of like that the oak spice is very present, and the kind of smoky is nice, and the sweetness is there, and it kind of nicely.
Do you want to hear my obscure tasting notes on this one?
Yes, I
Yeah.
would.
So my mother makes probably the best trifle on the planet. I'm biased, but she makes amazing trifle every holidays. And so I get that sort of sweet, almost tangerine-y fruitiness of the trifle, and then you get that creamy custardy.
Yeah.
But someone nearby is smoking, like not in that room, but someone's smoking nearby.
Yeah.
And someone has snuck in a couple chili peppers into it. There's chili peppers in the trifle.
Whoa.
That's how I would describe that.
I like that.
Wow.
I like that. I know. I like that. I like now defining. I've been doing this lately. The spice. Is it paprika spice? Is it what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it's special. It's
Just
special.
like peel back
peppery
the
spice,
layers, right?
yeah.
Like you're just like, what kind of spice? Is it cumin? Is it like paprika? Is it like, that's great. The one that I have brought is the Balvenie Single Barrel 12, and that's first fill, American oak. Sometimes people get in this one, and I mean, like we've talked about, each cask, obviously, because it's a single barrel, can be quite different, can be dialed up in different places. Like this one to me is like quite sweet and fruity.
Yep.
There's some banana, like big time
Yeah,
banana for me.
banana jumped out right
Yeah,
away.
100%. Sometimes you get them a little bit almost smoky. This is the one of all of them that people say they get smoke off of, other than like the Week of Peat, which obviously does. But I think it's because we're using a first fill American oak cask, so they're getting some of that sort of char left over. So there is no peat in this. There's no smoke in it, but it's the one most of all that people will randomly be like, am I getting a hint of smoke off this
It's
one?
barrel. They're tasting barrel. That's exactly it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So 12 years in that first fill, you're going to get some of that sort of like char, some of that really deep sort of like smoky bits coming right off the cask. I don't get any off of this particular one. No. I get sweet fruitiness, banana. We keep these up at 47.8% as well.
So what's the ABV?
This is 47.8%.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Does
so
not drink
gentle.
like it, yeah.
Holy moly. It's just giving me a hug. It's like, hey, how are you? How have you been?
Yeah. There's a nice little spice on it.
Yeah.
It's not overwhelming. This is, in case anyone's, keeping track, this is cask number 4553, bottle number 74, of no
Unique
more
to
than
that.
300 that will come from the
Do you
cask.
have a number you would like to keep? Like, if you found a bottle, I know what number I would pick, and it's very childish, but what would you like number one?
I like the number 13.
Lucky number 13?
I used to live on the 13th floor, and 13 is a significant number. Or I would like, anything that had to do with like my birthday. Because I don't have anything for my birthday. I know everyone always looks for like their birthday bottles, and there's one for my birth year that's an old Pulteney 1983 that I'm desperate to get my hands on. I just have to save a couple pennies for it.
Shit.
But every time I go to Calgary, I'm like, hey, Andrew.
Hey.
Hey, I see it's still there. Thank goodness. So, yeah.
I think my advice for anyone who collects whiskey now, especially for us who have finite space, and I've definitely experienced that, where now it was move all the whiskey out of the condo, Cameron, and I did, it's birth year whiskey. I love collecting birth year whiskey. I think that's a fun way of doing it, and I'll decide down the road when I want to open that, and it'll probably be on my birthday every year, and I'll do it that way.
For sure.
And that's very significant. Nothing to do with what the whiskey is. It may not even be very good, but it was distilled the year I was born, which is really cool.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so this one might be easier than the last one. We'll see.
I will make this a little harder by giving you guys
Can't wait.
very shorter, well, in one case anyway. Round number one of 3 rounds. Second round, whatever, match game.
Round
I don't
two.
know. Round two.
Round two.
Tasting notes one.
All right.
Batch one.
This is an interesting one because I assume this was a typo. However, I'm going to read it fresh.
Amazing, yes.
And Cam,
Like Yahoo Answers.
And you're mostly a vegetarian, so maybe this will speak to you in a different way than it speaks to me. So I like this one.
Wait, are you mostly a vegetarian?
It's very hard to eat fully. I try to do vegan, but I eat a lot of cheese now.
Okay.
So you are
but
vegetarian.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't sure if you were.
Shrimp rings this holiday season, though, they're safe.
Okay.
I usually crush a whole shrimp ring to myself. They're safe this year.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
the shrimp population is recovering, everyone.
Oh, that's good. I know that. That's awesome. Well, fresh coconut meat.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Fresh coconut
Oh
meat.
yeah, coconut meat.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
like the
interesting.
meaty bit of the coconut.
Yeah,
The white part.
It is. That's
Coconut
the actual
meat.
term.
Yeah,
like
it's the
coconut
actual
white.
term.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
all
like
right.
the white part.
I
It's
never
like
heard of
the
that before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people call
Okay.
it. Do they call it flesh sometimes?
Yeah,
but
coconut flesh.
but meat, like the white part. So
I forget
we're
that's
looking
right.
at
For that. Yeah, that's
so
a good point.
fresh, like from cracked open. See, now
I
this
am
could
learning.
this could potentially be.
And this is from ScotchNoob.com.
This could
great
potentially
website.
be. I mean, we might not get it in this particular single barrel offering. And again, this is probably my fault, and I did not think this through when I pulled them. But we've tasted all the other Balvenis, so I was like, "What haven't we tasted?" So I have had ones that have hints of coconut in them before. So that wouldn't be a huge stretch, but.
This is tough for me because I don't get a lot of I've read tasting notes. I know when I'm being educated on them, and I do my own tasting notes.
Yeah.
Coconut's one I don't usually get, only because I
same.
love coconut water. Not a big coconut guy. Like a macaroon, don't come near me with that.
Really?
I don't
I
like
eat the
them.
macaron, but like don't touch
not
me
for
with
me.
the coconut.
So
Yeah,
I don't find those tasting notes,
Water.
but power of suggestion, hearing that, re-smelling Twisted Tattoo, I get actually quite a bit of coconut. I'm not getting it as much in the Balvenie, but that fresh woody sweetness, it could throw me off, and I think American Oak does give you that coconut sweetness.
It can, yeah.
So I think I'm going to be wrong on this one, but I'm going to go with the gut and say Twisted Tattoo.
I'm
right.
going to say the Balvenie 12.
All right. The answer is the Belvini 12.
Yeah, knew it.
Yeah.
Knew it. Yeah.
It but you know what? But you're right. It also single casks, right? And I
It's
can
single
see.
casks.
I don't get a lot. I agree.
yeah.
I've gotten coconut, but this is not.
This is not a
This one
particularly
isn't a coconutty
yeah,
one.
4553 is not a coconut cask.
But I just like the testing notes.
Noted.
Noted.
Can we respond to these now? Can we go back and like right back to you? Hey, you're wrong, buddy.
Yeah, can you imagine? My bottle doesn't taste anything like this.
Where do you live? I'm coming to see you.
but you're absolutely right, Jerry. These are very hard to distinguish. I'm really
Yeah.
pushing here. But
Yeah.
all right.
The next one.
Next
This
one.
is
Next one.
batch 2. Okay, go.
Pound cake. Pound cake.
I don't get any pound cakey notes from this. Well, I mean, this thing.
But now I'm doing that whole like
I know.
when you fill out tests and the teacher gives like
Second
A B A B A A B A A.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
is
know,
there a
I
pattern?
gotta be
So
careful,
I don't
I
want you
know.
to go like Belvini, Highland Park,
I
Belvini,
know.
Highland Park.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm second guessing.
Or yeah, exactly.
I shouldn't have brought a single barrel.
But it's fun this way. I like it,
It is
more.
fun.
Although
fun.
you guys are now tied, so the single barrel's helping you so far.
Gosh, okay.
Apparently.
This one's a tough one. I think I'm struggling between these two.
It's a really tough
I'm gonna go
one.
with Belvini. I'm lost on this one though. I'll be honest. I have zero confidence in myself at the
Pound
moment.
cake. So I mean, like, are we talking like a vanilla, like fruity pound cake? Or are we talking like a Christmas cake, which is also kind of qualified?
Was this
in
the only tasting note? Like
pound
they just
cake
wrote pound
category?
cake. There was more to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
'cause
I'll give them
again, 'cause
that.
they're so different. Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to.
I'm just picturing one comment, be like pound cake.
Yeah.
Pound cake is tricky. So when I think of like pound cake, I always think of Christmas cake, which
It's
is
not-
not necessarily. Okay, you know what? There's lots of vanilla, and when I hear cake,
Because pound cake is
like
white.
it's
Yeah,
like-
I'm
it's like
picturing
a
the pound cake, but then like,
vanilla-
you can soak it in like boozy strawberry
Boozy,
sometimes.
yeah.
It's
So
really
it's
good.
another way of saying vanilla,
Yeah. But
now-
cakey, buttery,
See,
right?
now my answer's
Okay,
I'm second guessing my answer
yeah,
again.
you know what? I'm gonna go with Belvini too. Vanilla. This is
All
what
right.
I'm getting. Cake, vanilla. I love vanilla cake.
You're both right. It is Belvini.
Oh.
Yes, high five that one. I was so nervous
All
about
right,
that one.
all right,
Oh,
nicely
so
done,
nervous.
nicely
that
done.
was tricky.
Although this is all right. So wait. All right. You know what?
I assume the last one's gonna be Highland Park.
Pound cake. I know it's gonna be Highland Park now.
Oh.
We know your pattern.
It's okay.
All right. You know what?
Read it out. We'll,
No. We'll do 5. We'll do 5 on this one. We'll do them very quick. We'll do it very quick.
Okay,
Very
okay.
quick.
All
Very
right.
quick. Very quick. Although you're right. This will be pretty. Okay. Let me. All right. Which one of these reminds you of licorice?
Highland Park.
licorice.
Licorice.
I don't get any licorice from the Belvini.
Like red licorice or black licorice? Like anise kind of thing?
Yeah. I think usually that
like-
means anise. Yeah. I know, and licorice and anise are so
know.
similar. Like,
I know.
Like I always like those two notes are always fun for me because
I'm
anise
just
is
gonna say
just more
Highland Park 'cause that's what I think
more
you're gonna give it.
spicy, and licorice is
So do
more.
I. But now
visceral.
we're swinging our own answers.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
We're.
I'm gonna drink some more and see what it tells me.
Yeah. We're
I like
trying
this.
to
We're gonna
hack the game.
But yeah,
now.
you're right. We gotta. We're hacking the game. This
All right.
is
This is like-
I promise I'll go faster. But is this a tasting note or a nosing note?
Oh, great question. Sorry, that is a tasting. It's a palate note.
I'm gonna go with Highland Park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are both right.
Yeah.
It is.
And that was not a
absolutely-
process of elimination. I tasted.
No, I agree. Like the
No,
actually
I
the
do.
Highland.
I get a slight little anisey, like sort of like again that herbaceous sort of. Yeah, it does. It's not like dill or.
I love
like,
that we're talking about tasting notes in such detail. This is so much fun. We're gonna do
know.
this. This
It's
is a
great.
new thing. This is awesome.
We are nerds.
We are such nerds.
What a bunch of geeks.
Because it's actually like I've learned so much already. I'm like fresh coconut meat. What's that even mean? And then Jamie's like, oh yeah, the meat part of the okay, I get that.
This
now.
is why people have whiskey clubs, right?
Yeah,
But
this
it's so
is
different.
why
But
we
it's so
do
different
this.
than dried coconut.
Yes,
Right?
So
Very
different from dried
so-
coconut.
so-
Yes, or coconut water, which is disgusting.
coconut
by
lip
the way.
balm.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
As a
Or LaCroix coconut flavor.
there, right now we're getting into
Which
it.
is my favorite coconut sunscreen. Like that's a very different.
Yeah. Oh
sort
yeah,
of, like-
I can't do Lacroix.
I love the coconut.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know my husband hates it too, and I love it. Like so, I always buy it because I was like, no one's gonna drink this except for me. It does taste like
There you go.
drinking.
Whiskey Topics next
sunscreen.
sponsor. LaCroix.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Gooseberries.
Gooseberries.
Highland Park.
I will also agree that's Highland Park.
Yeah,
I don't
you
get
guys
any
got it. You
gooseberries.
got it. You got it. You got
I
it.
think we're on the same page.
All right,
Cam and I.
last
Last
one.
one.
Now you don't know which way I'm gonna go. You don't know. You
I
have no idea.
actually
No
don't.
idea.
Oh, you've
no idea.
You've tricked us, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be so hard. Ooh. Oh. Bitter oranges. Bitter oranges. I guess by bitter oranges they mean the the
pithy?
peel, right? The pithiness
Well,
of it.
no,
Yeah.
you can have like a really maybe too early ripe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
'cause you could. Oh yeah. So yeah, bitter
Bitter
orange.
orange.
Nose or tasting note.
Tasting note. Great question. I love how this is like. Can you phrase it in the form of a question?
I'm gonna stick with Highland Park on this one.
All right, we
I
got
think
Highland Park for Jamie.
that's where my gut went, but
Yeah, that's tough. Then just for the sake of us trying to even the scores
yeah,
up,
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
go with Balvenie.
hey,
All right. Well, this doesn't make it even, but Jamie is right. This was the. I'll read you the full. I'll read you the full tasting notes that I've read because I kind of think it was blackberries and gooseberries for the Highland Park, bitter oranges, and something that reminds me of licorice.
Did you divide the same tasting note?
I did,
3
yeah.
ways?
Because
What a sneaky guy.
It kind of worked in this
Yeah.
instance because there was I couldn't originally I planned to read 2 of those, but I realized that the differences were so there's nothing because the
Yeah.
single barrel one was fresh coconut meat, caramel, oak, buttery, malt,
Yes.
and pound, and I've had some other ones, but that was kind of
floral,
like
100%.
I
They
think for
weren't
me, it's
different enough.
process of elimination, reading someone's tasting notes of what I would guess.
Yeah.
I would pick what note best resonates with me and go, okay, I think it's this one.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to get all those tasting notes. I'll get
Yeah.
one that goes for sure, like gooseberries. That
Yeah.
right away jumped out to me.
Yeah.
Who is that? Who was that person?
Oh, so that was so the single barrel was done by Scotch Noob and
Scotch Noob, shout out.
Exactly, and the connoisseur.com review. I'll put it in the links. It was a
Awesome.
reviewer from connoisseur.com with the blackberries and gooseberries, bitter oranges.
Beauty.
I think. Yeah,
Thanks for those.
I think so. That's the fun part is you read it oh yeah, bitter oranges.
Yeah.
I can get that. I think that's a lot of fun. This is.
I prefer halftime orange slices. It tastes a little greeny, a little grassy. You're a little
Yeah.
sweaty, and then it's orange slice.
Orange slice. Yeah, yeah.
We should talk about tasting notes you hate. Do you guys read whiskey reviews at
Yeah,
all?
yeah.
And is there tasting notes that you hate? Because is there ones you're maybe they meant it in a nice way? It's like you have somebody reviews a whiskey and you've got the perfect score. You've got your 90 plus, and you're like, oh, but that tasting note, and
I don't think I judge anyone on their opinions. I think everyone's going to have them, so good for you. I don't like it when it's a whiskey I really like and someone just tears it down. I'm like, whoa, that was a really good whiskey.
Yeah.
Oh, it's what's the word? I can't think of it now, but they say it's super, super bitter, or it's this, and I'm like, sulfuric. They're like, oh, it's so sulfuric. I'm like,
yeah.
really? Maybe you've just got a tongue for that, because I
Yeah.
don't get it at all. I get
Yeah.
a wonderful, rich, heavy whiskey, but it's not that. And when someone really tears it down, they complain that why would they even release it? And I'm like, okay, that's a bit aggressive, man.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I take umbrage with is when they get that aggressive with it. It's okay, to each their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the only thing that maybe is just the tiny little remarks that I think all the distilleries want to make good whiskey and they want to put out good whiskey. And so sometimes the idea that I sort of am pulling from these reviewers is that they think that it's a cash grab or
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get money out.
capital. It's yeah. So it's
That's
just sort of
gotta be
it's
annoying, yeah.
well, let's talk about the whiskey, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the commentary goes a little. It gets a little big for me, and it's just all right, let's talk about what's in the glass, and we can have that discourse 100%, and it's 100% happy to engage in that. But when we're doing a whiskey, that's always just the one thing where your heart sinks a little bit, and it's oh well, let's just talk about.
I love
liquid.
you guys make this is bad whiskey. You guys are making bad whiskey right now. It's okay, I see your opinion has changed on
Yes.
our whiskeys, but
Yeah.
we don't just make bad whiskey all of a sudden. Didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But be strong in your opinion. My favorite tasting note to laugh at is could be older.
Oh.
Could be older. Could be older. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Great tasting note. Good advice.
Yeah.
We'll send that right to the whiskey maker. Could be older.
All our whiskeys could technically be older.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we
Could be
wanted
Another
them
9
to
months
be.
in the cask.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Another 9 months.
He's got that to a
9
clock. He's
months,
9 more hours. Who would have done it, guys? Just you're a touch early.
I find myself kind of more impressed with whiskey reviews and reviewers than I am sort of disappointed by them. I'm always so impressed that people can put together these sort of succinct ways to speak, because again, my experience with tasting whiskey, I think my palate's fine, but I get a little bit more sort of esoteric with my tasting notes, and so I think that
Great
if
word,
someone
by the
can
way.
thank you, if someone can smell a grape and keep that smell logged in the back of their head, and then know how to verbalize and write about each one of these in very specific, that's super impressive to me, and I'm I'm always kind of in awe when people can pull those sort of like bits together where it's almost like everything's working very well. Like the brain, the nose, the palate, the writing, like it all comes out really well. Like it's an art for sure, and I'm not good at it whatsoever.
I like coming from a marketing background before the role I have now. I love the people who can write a narrative in the tasting notes when they're putting you a narrative to a story and say, this is what you're going to taste, and this is why we named it this way, and this is what the whiskey maker did. The fact that it can come from distillery to bottle and have this beautiful story, I love that. That's a really cool thing to do. And then when people start breaking it down and tell their own personal story with the whiskey, I love that even more.
Love it. Yes.
Yeah, paint us a picture of what that tastes and feels like.
Yes.
Are you in your drawing room? Are you having a cigar?
Yeah.
Are you in a summer day and are you tasting fresh fruit? That's
Yeah.
cool for me to go, oh, yeah,
Yes.
I get that.
Yes.
That's the great way about it. Yeah.
100%. I agree. And I really love hearing people's stories about like the first time that they had this whiskey or their own personal connection with it or a great night that they had with their pals or, you know, they cracked a bottle of Doublewood and finished it all in one night and threw the cork away. So like, I think that's like one of those great things where, you know, you get this sort of like really lovely story. Aside from the whiskey story, you get to like sort of learn a little bit about the person and that's really what whiskey drinking is about, is being together and drinking it and having a great time and getting that sort of like thing going where it's like, oh, this is my everyday dram. I really love this one. You know, it's you know, like an old friend, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's a great tasting note. This is my old friend. Like, it's really lovely. Yeah.
My favorite thing now is assigning whiskeys in my portfolio to family members.
Oh.
Nice.
It's like, this is my mom's
That's very
whiskey.
holiday.
This is my dad's whiskey.
Yeah,
This is my brother's
yeah.
whiskey, my sister's whiskey. And it's so funny because usually they're all very, I think, accessible in terms of price points. You know, mom, dad, brother, all like, they're easy. Sisters loves rare cask.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, she's the bougie one. She's the bougie one. But I assign my family members
Yeah.
whiskeys, and it's a really fun way of explaining it to people.
Yeah.
And nothing to do with the whiskey, nothing to do with the tasting notes. I'm
No.
like, that's my mom.
Yeah. It's
That's
not wrong.
it.
Yeah, 100%.
I know, Kevin. You could have a dark humor, but I feel like if you were darker, you would like give every family member a whiskey and be like, and it would be like passive aggressive and be like da 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 da. But you're not that guy. You're not. But that'd be
Maybe.
fun.
We'll see how Christmas goes.
We don't know the dark side of Cam. All right, we're gonna do round
Final
number 3. Those are
one.
great answers, but I think you know, like if somebody writes.
Did we tie? What was his final score?
No. You're not tied.
Oh, no.
Cam, you're one behind. You're one behind. I know.
So close to that donut.
So this is gonna be
Tasting notes for the donut.
We're gonna do 5 next round.
Okay.
But there'll be tiebreakers until somebody wins.
Okay.
So next one. You know what? I got good tasting notes on this.
Okay,
So
great.
much fun.
Nice.
All right. So next one is gonna be Highland Park Valfather.
Well said.
Valfather.
You said it.
I know. I was worried about
This
that
is a fun one. So
This is a
Highland
fun
Park is always known for having that subtle peat smoke, right? In Orkney, there's very few, if any, trees there, so our peat is made up of predominantly heather.
Yeah.
And even then, in our mash bill, we're only using roughly 20% peated barley. So it's always like a nuance. It's best supporting actor, not main actor. This, though, the Viking Legend series, which started with Valkyrie, then Valknut, and now into Valfather, the final release, we've increased that peat every year.
Wow.
So this is
nice.
the most heavily peated Highland Park ever released.
Nice.
It's fantastic.
Nice.
Very
That's
beautiful.
Ooh,
great. Yeah.
I drum on the table, but it's
Beautiful.
glass. So this is in no way anything like an islet. It's still quite light, but Valfather means All Father Odin. And we've already done one Odin, the
Yeah.
only whiskey to ever make me cry. Single tier, actually. It was amazing. So this whiskey is going to be powerful, but it's 100% refill casks. So taking all that energy, excitement, and power, and then just being supple, being soft with it.
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned earlier with this one, I think there's a creme brulee note to it. There's a brilliant, soft, creamy, almost dessert
Yeah.
note to it.
Oh yeah.
47%. So we've kind of sat around that 47, 48 all this whole tasting is kind of exciting.
Yeah.
We've had that sort of sweet spot.
Yeah, it's a great way to spend an afternoon, that's for sure.
Yes.
But here, burnt sugar. Tons of burnt sugar,
Oh,
and
yeah.
sweetness, a
Oh,
little
yeah.
custard note to it as well.
100%.
And then that smoke is just kind of earthy. It's not smoke as much as you can smell almost dry packed dirt to
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
yeah.
Which is weird
100%.
that it's now imagine this. You've just gotten a great creme brulee, but you've tripped and you've spilt it. And it's on the ground outside, and you're kind of like,
Oh,
I can still eat that, right? That's my taste.
I love that. That's Cam tasting note right there. That's a quote.
I
love it.
love
I love it.
this.
This is really fun.
This is not my first time having this one, but I really enjoyed this one. So
Wow.
for me, quickly, I've brought the Week of Peat. And so
Oh, I have it
this
there.
is a peated Balvenie. We, for 1 week before the distillery closes down in the summer to clean out the system, we do a peated malt run. And so this is the product of that. So 48.3% ABV. So higher in ABV, but again, just a gentle smoke. So we're not looking at anything like overwhelmingly intense. All American oak casks, first fill, refill, aged.
And that's the story of Ian Millar in this one?
Yeah.
He and I have the same last name. I want someone to trace our histories. I think we're related.
Oh
I
my
like to
God.
think we're related.
You're both very tall and lanky. Have you
And-
met
and-
Ian?
and handsome. Yeah, I met him in
okay,
Fredericton.
last year.
Yeah.
He's great.
I think he tried to adopt me. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that was
pretty
mentioned
sure.
at one
Sounds
point.
about great. Right, yeah. He actually, when I went to the distillery once, I got out of the car with Gemma, and he ran away from us. Like, he literally apparently said, like, oh, that's my lot over there, and then left before saying hello. So Ian is just like, Ian.
Amazing man,
So Ian was a distillery manager for a while. It was his idea to start doing the peated run back in 2002. And so he was very much involved in this. He was sort of mucking in with the guys, and he is very much a part of this story here. So, it's great for, a Speyside, like classic Speyside malt. It's a nice, easy peat. It's sort
Give
of
us a cool
really
tasting note.
approachable.
Give us a funky tasting note.
Okay.
Oh, that is
See,
fun.
the pressure's on.
Yeah.
There's
These-
still
these are
lots of honey
so-
in here.
These
which
are
is-
so different. They're
which is
both
like-
peated.
Yeah.
And they're
So
both kind of
different.
like Highland. Like Balvenies is a Highland.
It's a Highland peat,
as
yeah.
well. So there's a very similar.
So again, it's lots of
gently-
heathery, sort of
heathery
like
peat.
really gentle.
But they are different.
A lot of wood coming through too. Mm-hmm. A lot of wood.
48.3% spice. Like there's definite like black pepper spice in this for sure. But the finish isn't very long. So like for me, this is not the kind of peated malt that you're going to that's gonna like stick with you till the next morning. Like when you wake up and you regret everything, and you're like, why did I drink all that? Like
You regret everything.
Yeah, you
That's
regret
very dramatic,
everything, and
Jamie.
all you can smell is like peat, and you can taste it and everything. These ones actually, both of them are quite like easy on the palate. Like you wouldn't completely like ruin, a tasting, even if you did them right at the beginning, and then you did some other Highland ones afterwards. So they're it's easy peasy peat.
Kind of desserty as well. This one, I get
Yep.
more of those burnt sugars, the kind of sweetness to it.
Yep.
Maybe a bit of white fruit to it. Maybe a bit of citrus.
Yes.
Just a hint of it,
Yes.
just a little bit, just a little bit of it.
Oh, that's
Yep.
that definitely citrus.
That's a ex-bourbon or is that a
Ex-bourbon.
ex-bourbon? Yeah.
How about Bellfather? What's it?
All refill sherry
All
casks.
refill
yeah,
sherry,
refill
yeah.
sherry casks.
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah, this makes
even in
sense. So
color,
that's- yeah.
like they're
Actually, not that
I
different.
think I'm a touch darker, just a bit more gold. You're a bit more yellowy.
Yeah.
But
Those refill casks, yeah, for sure.
It's definitely the sweetness is there on the Highland Park. So I'm trying to as we're tasting this, I'm trying to like edit down the notes I picked. I'm like, okay, now that I'm actually tasting these whiskeys live, I need to kind of pick. But I do have a fun note here. So I don't know if this will make it obvious or not obvious, but this is a very fun note. It'll be 2 sentences. So get ready. So now, Cam, you're behind by 1, and we've got 5 more rounds on
Okay.
this.
there's a whole game left.
Oh my God! It's a whole game.
Here we go.
For the ice cap.
Motor oil and blood smeared on an iron sword. It's dirty, but in a good way. I'll
That
say it
has
again.
got to be a
Okay.
Highland
Is,
Park
Motor-
is
tasting
anyone
note.
else sweating from
Yeah,
that?
I got really.
Motor oil and blood smeared iron swords. It's dirty, but in a good way.
God, yeah, it just,
I would
it
have to say.
screams Highland
Well, I was gonna say
Park.
even just the like, and because my tasting notes are much more esoteric, that sounds like just thinking about the theme of that tasting note. There's no way I could say it was a Balvenie because it's so like we're so
Yeah.
like la la
I'm
la.
gonna say
and,
Highland
like,
Park Bellfather.
I gotta say Bellfather.
No, you're both
Yeah.
right. And I mean, and it's such a great tasting note because
It's
I remember
such a great tasting
it was
note.
actually
I would read their novel, whatever they wrote.
Yeah,
Oh
I would
yeah,
read.
yeah.
100%. Who was that? We'll find out later. We can
that
find
is
out
whiskeysaga.com.
Whiskey Saga.
Whiskey Saga.
Saga, yes.
Not like Sega.
Not like
Genesis.
yes, Saga. Yes, thank
Saga.
you.
The Whiskey
English,
Saga.
it's-
That
okay.
sounds like
English is my
yeah?
second language because I keep reminding Nicole, my wife every time. I'm like, whenever I'm like, look, I'm second
Says
language.
the writer.
Also use that as a bragging point of like, I don't know, I'm a published author. I'm sure I said it right.
Yeah, just
And
by Whisky
everybody
Cabinet, just to
laughs.
fact check him on all his,
I'm
words.
I'm terrible at pronouncing words. I do have a lot of blind spots. Anyway, so that's I thought it was a great one. I thought it was very obvious too, because like the moment I originally I was like, oh, this is a little too obvious, but also such a great tasting note.
It's
oh my
such
God.
a great tasting. I'm glad you didn't leave it out.
Yeah. All right, but I do want to make this fair, and we got to make this tough. All right, I'm just gonna do a very short one to make this especially hard. Roasted nuts. A returning tasting note. Roasted nuts.
Nuts.
And I think
I hate that they didn't explain which nuts.
well, it's true.
Peanuts.
Almond.
There's mention of
peanut.
spice before this. I will say there's mention of spice before this, but
Spice nuts.
but it doesn't say spice nuts. A bit of spice and roasted nuts.
I heard there was a tasting note online. It's just these nuts.
And that is a tasting note on the palate. Yes. This is a hard one because
Is it
the
tasting note or
sherry ca-
nose?
It's a tasting note. Because on the sherry cask, you can almost get them both. If the American oak is a little, you can almost get it on both
Well,
sides.
you do get spice. So like what I find with sherry cask notes is always like those baking spices, so like
Yes.
nutmegs and like
Yeah.
dark like cinnamons and things like that. And then with bourbon barrels, you always get those like black pepper spice,
Yeah.
like that like yeah.
And I feel like if I told you what kind of spice, I'd ruin
You
it.
do.
So-
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
Highland Park Valfather again.
All right, you're gonna go Highland Park. Jamie, what are we doing here?
Come on.
It's a tough one.
I'm gonna go Balvenie, nuts and spice. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
this
gonna
is
go Balvenie.
so Balvenie and Highland Park. Oh, sorry, Cam. This is.
Oh no, I'm down.
yeah.
I'm down 2 now.
You're down
Oh,
2.
jeez.
This is almost. Oh,
Well played, Jamie.
For someone who doesn't have a great palate, I feel really chuffed right
Great,
now.
make me feel worse. That's fantastic. Even worse.
Because I'm good at guessing. Got 50-50 chance each time.
Oh man, there's so many tasting notes. I'm trying to make this really tricky because this is the last round. It's got to be hard.
It's got to be hard.
All right.
Cam can still do it though.
I have to get all 3 in a row now, and you've got to get
Yeah.
2. You get 2 wrong.
So
So you get
this-
1 right, or 2 right. I'm screwed.
This is one I won't use because it's so very obviously, but it's
Okay.
a tingly smoke with malty sweetness going to Pete of Week because
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
that's an easy one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. I'm gonna go a little general just to kind of random this up a little bit.
Yep.
Complex fruit.
Valfather.
Yeah, I'd say Valfather as well on that one. There's more fruit going on.
I think that was a trick question, but you're both wrong.
Oh, no.
That was whiskeyjug.com.
I see you, Whiskey Jug. Well played.
Yeah.
Honey, graham, complex fruit, malty sweetness, peat, and a bit of
Yeah.
spice and roasted nuts. That was
Yeah.
a whiskey jug one.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm consistently getting that tasting note wrong. But that person and I just have a very different palate.
No.
Right.
And I think, you know what, the whiskey jug too, like I love his tasting notes. He's very, but he's very technical as a drinker. He's like, yeah, this is this note, this is this note, this is that note. Is a very technical.
What a
for him.
jughead.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna need to go a little deeper in the.
Okay, just so everyone's clear, if I get anything wrong now,
Yeah, you're done. You're
I
done. You're
lose.
done.
I'm never allowed to come back.
Wow, these are so different.
Mark is
All right.
stressed. If
I am
those
very
of you
stressed
who are
right now.
Watching on the YouTube, look at the sweat.
Licorice, black peppercorn,
Ooh,
milk chocolate.
that's really hard. I'm gonna go with Valfather.
Ooh, right off the bat.
See, now, but,
James.
like,
My gut.
So now, if I'm a betting man, the
Yeah.
only way I beat you right now is I go the opposite way.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the only
you're
way.
right.
It's the only way I can win.
See, this is why I'm not a betting person because I don't know anything about strategy. I don't strategize at all.
Well, Cam basically has to get everyone right, and if you get, no, you're right, Cam. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Okay. So in my gut, just so we can like put reference, I agree. I think it's Valfather as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go Week of Pete just to push the boboundaries here.
All right, well, Jamie wins.
Yeah,
Jamie
there it
wins.
is.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was whoa, that was very stressful.
We're not done. At least get one more. Now,
All right, all right.
just to finish it off.
All right.
We have the winner, the champion.
We have Jamie's one. We've got one more to go, just to see whether, just to see. Last one is peppery and smoky up front, then a wave of sweet fruits and brown sugar.
Oh shoot, I would. Ooh, shoot again.
Balvenie.
I love that, just like Balvenie question mark. I'm Ronberg.
Jade doesn't care anymore. She's like, wait, I won. This is
I
like-
know. Now this is extra
This
stress.
is JV's.
This is my swan song.
This is your swan song, like-
Sorry, cork pop.
I just feel like there's more smoke on the front end of Balvenie, and so that smoke and then change,
Yeah.
I think is more Balvenie. I think you get more smoke on the back end of Highland Park.
yours.
So
100%.
I'll say Balvenie
I agree
as
with
well.
that.
That was a Highland Park review. It's the same one that called it motor oil and blood smeared iron swords, which I think I get because they're kind of like upfront peppery. Like it's such a nice like it's wave of fruits.
Wait,
and
is
blah
it
blah
upfront peppery or upfront smoky?
blah. Sorry, peppery and smoky up front.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And that was whiskey saga.
I would
Whiskey
say,
Saga.
Yeah.
I don't
For you.
know. I think that's really good. I mean, for me, I would say like the Balvenie does come up front with more smoke and more like pepper, and then it sort of like changes where I feel like it's more integrated with the Valfather. Like I feel like it's a little bit more of like a full mouthful that just sort of like develops together instead of in like pieces. So
Yeah.
I definitely like would have said like, yeah, like this is, it just seems more integrated in that piece. Like,
These were very hard because they were both so intense whiskeys in different ways. And
It's
they were
also the
very-
third round of
Yeah.
48% alcohol, and the palate gets a little
We're doing
cooked
great.
as well.
Yeah.
So
No, but
I think that's part of it. But JV, all credit to you.
JV.
Congratulations.
that was
Amazing.
That was awesome.
that was a lot of fun.
that
a
was
lot of fun.
great. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
Awesome. Yeah.
No, but this is actually a good example of two peated whiskeys that are just different and yet different oak, different creation, different things, similar peat style, and both different and delicious in a different way.
I
Yeah.
like the idea of more Highland whiskeys, Speyside whiskeys playing with peat.
Yes.
It's always
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
this is what we do really well, but this is a fun example of what else we can do.
Yeah.
And in Highland Park, we always do that subtle smoke, and then with the Viking Legends series, it's always like, what happens if we increase that peat smoke,
Yeah.
right? And whiskey, when you're experimenting, is a huge risk because you're not just going, we're going to try it this year. You're waiting 10, 12, 15 years for something to come to fruition
Yeah.
that was an experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, now we got to make it work.
Yeah.
That's an amazing part about whiskey makers,
Yeah,
right? And
100%.
so that's a fun way of experimenting and coming up with new stuff. And we as whiskey fans should appreciate it, whether we like it or not. Be like, wow, that was different, that was funky, good innovation.
Yeah.
That's
I
the only
agree.
reason our industry is going to expand is
Yeah.
doing fun stuff like this.
100%. I agree. It's interesting though, being somebody who like works for a distillery that's known for its like very like balanced whiskeys and like very classic Speyside.
And
When
great
I-
ambassadors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shucks. Me too, right? Included.
That was the YouTube fans as they roll my eyes.
Yeah.
Hey, if you didn't give us rope time, I think we'd all be a lot more stressed out.
But yeah, I think it's been really interesting for me to do sort of starting, because this just came out in Canada, doing master classes with it and seeing the sort of classic Balvenie fans, what they think of it. And
Yeah.
it's not always, it's the first time I think in my sort of Balvenie career that I've ever experienced anyone being like, ugh.
Has anyone been offended?
really?
Like,
Yes.
what have you done to me?
Yes.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
you've done something to
Yes.
affect me personally
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you did this.
Yes, and I'm like, hey, it's fair enough. Like, it is, peat can be like a controversial part of whiskey, and like I get that. And like, it's either sometimes it takes a bit to get into it. Sometimes it's just you're never gonna get there. Sometimes it's like what you want, and so it's one of those things. Like, it is a highly controversial sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of say like, we haven't taken anything out, so all the old whiskeys are still there, and you don't have to. But it's the first time I think I've ever experienced anyone sort of turn their nose up at one of the whiskeys that I've talked about. Like ever. So it's been a really interesting thing. But people that enjoy, even people that like are a little bit nervous about it, sometimes will be like, oh, okay, it's much lighter than I thought it was going to be. Like, oh, I'm not a huge peat fan, but I like it okay. And then there's just some people who are just like flat out.
But you still
Absolutely
you still hear people say that I don't like Scotch because it's smoky. Like
Yes.
you still hear that
Yeah.
to this day. Like, and not just like people in like later on in life. There's like people in their 20s and 30s like, no, Scotch smoky.
Scotch is- yeah.
You still hear it, which is amazing.
My
to me.
favorite answer ever is, I don't like Scotch. I drink whiskey.
Yes.
Wait, what? Like, no. Like, I just drink whiskey.
Yep.
Yeah. No. This is
No,
this
no,
is
this
whiskey.
is whiskey.
Scottish whiskey. Scotch.
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 Yeah.
No. I drink whiskey. I don't like. Okay, you're not really
Yeah,
meeting me halfway
no.
here, but yeah, it's just a lack of exposure and a lack of understanding. The reason Jamie and I have jobs, the reason you have such an amazing career and a writer, there's such a rabbit hole to go down with whiskey. There's such a world of it, and people need to be enlightened. So much of what they know is a microcosm into an advertisement or what their mom or dad told them when they first started drinking. And that's what people need to do is they need to expose themselves to more, make mistakes, get messy. The whole Miss Frizzle drinking technique.
And we were all there. We were all starting with whiskey like, oh, I don't like this. I like whatever reason. Like, I mean, I bet you the first 5 whiskeys I bought that I liked were terrible. Not terrible in a bad way. Just not I really like these and but then the other whiskeys but they were really great whiskeys. I just wasn't ready for them.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for them. I'm just like, I don't get it.
There are more challenging whiskeys, for sure. We talked about Highland Park 12 being this sort of comfortable, happy place. Glenrothes is super accessible. Belvenny, everyone's like, well, I like Belvenny. I don't like anything else. I like Belvenny because they love that softness, that suppleness, a quality about it. And when you don't expose yourself to anything other than, you're missing out. Whether you're chewing on a Lafroig or you just stick to the regularity and the accessibility of a Glenfiddich, you just find yourself in those drinks.
Yeah.
And anyone who says otherwise, you shouldn't do that. That's bad. Well, that's a silly opinion.
Well, and I feel the same way about sort of age statements because people do get into that idea where it's older is best. You got to I won't drink anything.
You want to pay more? Go pay more. That's fine.
Well,
go pay more. Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I mean, ultimately, that's kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah.
But if I give you a Belvenny 50 and you don't like oak, then you're not going to like it because it's going to be like chewing on a stick for you. It's going to be too oaky because it's been a cask for 50 years. So the thing about it is once you start sort of putting parameters, I don't drink this, I refuse to, drink anything less than 18, or I don't drink anything that you sort of limit yourself to that. And our palates change so much over the years and the seasons and what I drank 4 years ago versus what I drink now is very different, and sort of you're missing out, I think, if you sort of put those parameters on yourself, and that's a bummer.
I'm also very happy for people that have found their one whiskey and that's all they need. I'm so happy for you. I'm if you found your Belvenny 12, your Highland Park 12, and this is the only whiskey you need to drink in the entire world, I love you. That's amazing.
That's
good
great.
for you. My problem in life is just different moods, different whiskeys every time. I just wanted I think that's why we get so obsessed and so geeky about whiskey, because we do just want something a little different here, a little different there, and we're just kind of just constantly exploring. Whereas if you find your one drink, you're good, you're great. This is awesome. You're living your best life in that category.
Yeah, and I think you need to give people the forum to try a lot of these things.
Yes, you do.
And I think
you want to challenge their palates, right?
Yeah,
Which
you
is
go
what
to a beer fest and there's 1,000 IPAs, but you're gonna try them all and find out what you like, and that's been great for beer. The beer industry has grown so much from the 3 big players to now there's so many little microbreweries, and the only reason people got into that was because it wasn't just the one thing on tap. All of a sudden it was all these local things, and you went to these festivals and discovered them. And for us, all these amazing whiskey festivals across Canada, across North America, people come up to me, I love drinking this singular whiskey. I'm like, cool. I find this one really similar, but to me a bit different this way. And you give it to them, and their eyes kind of go big, and they're like, whoa, this is cool. I'm like, yeah. And then you have something else like, I don't like that. I'm like, great, cool.
Yeah.
You can knock that one off the board. We don't need that anymore. This is the other option for you. And you kind of give them this pick your own adventure. And that's the best part about it. With whiskey being more and more expensive every year, it's difficult for people to even gamble on these. What am I going to try? And I think the big thing you can do is find a group of friends, each bring one bottle, mix and match, discover what you like, because your palate's only going to be yours. No one else can tell you what it's going to be.
Exactly.
Love
and
that.
And that's exactly it. Find your whiskey drinking pals, and then just go to it. It's just the best way to do it. And then you can come
there's no wrong answers.
No, exactly.
No
you
wrong
can come
answers.
prepared with a little whatever bottle you brought. You can have a little spiel about it. You can know how it's aged, what it's made from, mash bill, whatever. Come and just sort of hang out and enjoy. And there's not too many other things in the world that you can kind of do that with in that kind of way. We've got such an opportunity here. It's so awesome. But at whiskey shows, my one thing that my pet peeve is when people come over and they're like, oh, this is my favorite. And you're like, well, then go see something else. Don't come over to me if you're drinking your favorite. You just paid $100 to get in here. Go see what your next favorite might be, or you've got this one.
You spent $90 to drink the one bottle you have at home.
Yeah, the one bottle you have at home.
Great choice.
Yes, I'm
great
always
choice.
just oh my gosh, go find something else. I was and I will literally say okay, well, if you like Double Wood 12, then why don't you try a Glenmorangie? Why don't you try this
Yeah,
Glenfiddich
yeah.
over here? Like, head over to McAllen and see what they're up to. Like, if you like Double Wood 12 and that's your style, I can name you 5 other distilleries that do something kind of similar but kind of different and whatever. Like, I know you're always going to love Balvenie 12. I have utter confidence in that. But I also want you to be, I mean, we always say, like, as ambassadors, we're not just our own brand ambassadors, we're category ambassadors. Like, we want people to drink whiskey and know about whiskey and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it is one of those things where people come up and they're like, yeah, this is my favorite. I have this at home. I've always got a bottle.
But be proud. I love people who are proud of it, though. I love
Me
people like, this
too.
is my
And
whiskey. It's
you know
me.
what?
Like, yeah,
they
have
probably
that.
they probably actually come over more to tell me
Yeah.
that that's what it is, and I'm probably like misinterpreting it somewhere along the way. But like I really do appreciate when people come over and tell me their story, but then try something different.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite thing too.
Just don't come up. I think if I can give any advice to anyone at whiskey shows, don't go up to someone, especially at the table, and just try and lecture them.
Oh yeah.
We don't need a lecture. We're here to have fun and have a conversation with you.
Yes.
And when you start lecturing us on whatever your opinion is on the brand, great. And I love that you're passionate about the industry, but like I don't need a lecture at that time. Like,
Yeah, it's not the time. Yeah, yeah.
No, let's talk about whiskey and the industry and how it's changing. Sure, don't need a lecture.
Yeah.
And some people, again, we're ambassadors. There's a lot of sales reps who look after a lot of things, wines, rums, even sometimes beers, as well as the spirits. They're there pouring to help make it fun and accessible for you. Don't go after them about it. Like they're just there helping it for you.
Yeah,
So please, because you
Yes.
wouldn't have fun. This whole
It's
industry
all
is
about
about
fun. Yeah.
indulgence.
Yes.
Don't make it a negative thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
love
And
it.
I will kick you out if you've had too much to drink.
Yes.
I will.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will.
So
I
this
will.
is becoming like the least favorite thing about whiskey shows is people drinking too much. It
Yes.
is becoming
They're
unpleasant.
sometimes too long, and you
Yeah.
don't need to have
Yes.
everything.
No,
I go
yeah.
around and see people, and I go, a little whisper, cool.
Yeah.
Cool
Yeah.
whisper. And like, it's not
Dump it
wasting
out,
whiskey.
yeah.
You're just trying it. If you
Yeah.
like it, go buy a bottle.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
bottle's already open. It's not going to waste. You don't
Exactly.
need to drink
It's
the whole
not going to
thing.
go- 100%.
You can always go for a drink afterwards.
All right, let's
somewhere.
bring it back to the holidays. Let's talk about something fun. Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which whiskey would you like to be gifted? I'm not Santa Claus, so I'm not gonna. But if you had any for any
Whiskey.
time, any era.
Oh boy.
Like-
I would love, I think, more of the old, like, the whiskey's so dark, they're opaque. From the like late 80s, early 90s, when people like it wasn't as
yeah.
big now, and you could
Yeah.
find them for $60 to $100, and they were like there was like opaque.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
dark. It may not even like it. It may be so heavy.
Yeah.
But I just want it. I
So
want to look at
sweet
something and be like, I'm
sugary,
drinking.
yeah.
I'm drinking the night. Like I'm drinking
Yeah.
darkness. I would love a bottle that's so dark like that. That's what I'm into.
There's a different profile in those whiskeys in the 80s.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just
So
completely different. Not necessarily better or worse because but it's just different. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
it's heavy and dark.
You're
and
chewing on it.
You're
Like you're
chewing
really
on
chewing on it.
tobacco. It is tobacco. It is 100% that tobacco note.
And leather. It's like
Leather.
you're like gnawing off a piece of leather.
Yeah.
Not vegan in any way.
No, not vegan leather at all.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to try some of the old stuff next to some of some of the older like bourbons from like the 70s, maybe
Yeah.
like an old Wild Turkey. Although I have had some pretty
yeah.
old Wild Turkeys.
But you like bourbon? That's so.
Who knew? Versus the ones that are coming out right now, or like any of the old style like single malt, and like versus so just to compare like palates sort of back in the day versus like now. So like, but I mean, I don't know. That's a really tricky one. If I could, I mean, there's some really good. I had a Port Ellen once,
Yes, the
and
old Port
it
Ellens.
kind of blew my mind, and so
Extinct whiskeys are always fun.
Yeah.
I would say
It's like I'm
Yeah.
drinking liquid
Yeah.
that can't be replaced.
100%.
irreplaceable.
It's
yeah.
like literally,
Yeah.
killing a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like literally.
Yeah.
I'm one of the few people that are increasingly getting smaller and smaller for even having the ability to drink this, and I just drank that.
100%.
Yeah.
That's wild to think about.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And then like just going to like I remember I went to the McAllen. I've told this story I think before, and they were like disgorging a sherry cask, an 18-year-old sherry cask, and they invited us in. It was me and Owen from the UK, and they were like, "Oh yeah, just."
Have at it.
We were like, "What?" So like maybe recreating that moment in my mind,
Yeah.
like just going in with your hands and just like you're just like it's an experience like none other. So,
There's
like,
cask strength bottling, and then there's like literally out of the cask,
Yeah.
and like you're there.
Yeah.
You're just licking the wood out of your hand.
100%. Like you get the
Yeah.
splinters like that. I mean,
Splinters bring an extra
yeah.
addiction.
char.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
actually char in your glass.
Yeah,
There's actually
100%.
like wood Yeah, and I think thanks
Yeah.
because I wasn't actually sure how I was going to answer this question, but thank you for helping me with that. It's always glad going through it. But no, it was that one of the trips we did to Kentucky we had from the barrel, and it's like still to this day one of the best tasting notes. I was actually two of them. One we were Heaven Hill, one in Jim Beam. They were both terrific, but like buying all the whiskeys that I can't buy today back then, like even this is like 2013, not that long ago.
Yeah.
Just buying all that whiskey.
I
could have spent like
know.
$10,000 on whiskey and would have been like a significant percentage of like anybody's income, mine including. And I've been like, today I've been like, this is fine. This is the best choice I've ever made.
No regrets.
No regrets. This is just great. This is fine because I think of all the whiskeys that were just starting up, but I do want to say too, I think the whiskeys that like Balveni's coming up with, you guys are coming up with, Highland Park, Macallan, Glenrothes is just starting to come out with new products there. I do think you're bringing a lot of that character that we really enjoyed in the 70s and 80s. Like it was because there's that period where like whiskey kind of like whatever. Kind of like we're laid back and everything else, but like I think a lot of these kind of forward flavor whiskeys won't be for every Balvenie fan, like you said.
Sure.
Some of them will be like, no, this isn't the whiskey I like.
Right.
But there's that new drinker that loves this whiskey, and I think we're kind of I think we're coming to the renaissance of whiskey, like a new renaissance, a new time because. You have aged product in Macallan, but it's not about age statements. But you have the freedom of more barrels, right? I don't mean to make this about age statements at all. But just the freedom of barrels. Balveni's willing to take risks, and I think it's a nice, it's a beautiful era of whiskey making. I think it's just going to get better, especially in Scotch.
You always want to win more people over and draw more people in. I think there was a period of time when you wanted to attract as many people as you could with a lot of these more wider ranged whiskeys. And now it's going back to. Or at least gravitating towards, well, what's always worked and what do people really want more of? Let's lean into that. We can still innovate, but within that vein, and you're seeing more of that, which is great because for us who are like, I love a really rich sherry cask. Great, there's your outlet. But there's still that venue of cool bourbon cask maturation that finishes. Now we've got tequila casks coming out. Right next 2 years, we'll see some weird mezcal finishes. But with Roja Spanish wine now, that like funky, like who would have thought of that? And what else is experimenting right now? I was in Spain, I was in Scotland, and they wouldn't even tell me. I'm like, so what you got going over there? Like nothing. Like they was like nothing because they know I'll talk about it. I can't not. And so they're like, no, we're not going to tell you anything. So amazing to think what's coming out. We'll always have that traditional like we'll give you what we want, but we're gonna challenge you. There's a wonderful opportunity now to go to whiskey drinkers and be like, what about this?
Nice.
Which is, and we have the luxury working for distilleries that are like really established, that like you sort of, you have the trust in the distilleries and the people that are making the whiskey to know that they're going to release something that is great. And we're really, really lucky to have those sort of distilleries, that we represent and they know what they're doing over there. So it's really exciting to talk about. It's really exciting to think about. And I think even like craft distilleries are now coming into their own even more than they were like 4 or 5 years ago. Like you're getting places like Shelter Point and everything that are really coming out with some great stuff and instead of just being dismissed as, a bunch of whoever's that decided they wanted to open a distillery, like these are legitimate whiskey makers that are coming into their own as well. So we're going to see so much going on in the next little while. It's really exciting. And going into a new decade, 2020, in a week or so, like this is like, I think we're hitting like sort of like the peak of like the whiskey, like you were saying, like you've got this sort of like big, exciting, forward moving industry. And I'm so curious to see where it goes. That being said, I just remembered that I would really like Santa to bring me a bottle of Elmer T. Lee if he can find it.
Yes, give us some Elmer. Oh my God.
I have an unopened bottle at home. But I want to open it.
I was thinking about that bottling today, and I don't know if the questions that come up, but just for the future. Now, I think we're in a new generation of whiskey makers. There's been an amazing, I think, community that are getting older in the whiskey making world. Now we're getting a younger, more youthful group, way more females as well involved in the industry, which is great. And so where their flavor profiles and palates, ability to blend take us is really exciting. But someone in the industry now, I would love for the opportunity to have my signature on a bottle. And I think Elmer T. Lee, like the signature is so iconic. And like every time I write my signature, I'm kind of like, that on a bottle would be so cool.
That's
so cool.
That's what Christmas. Santa's coming.
Yeah.
Santa's coming.
Someone give me access to our warehouses and let me pick a cask. We'll do that one.
I love it. All right. Well, we're going to continue this conversation for the Patreons. Where you're going to tell us your darkest.
Oh, his greatest fear.
No, we're not going to. But we're going to continue this conversation. Cam, you've got a fantastic Instagram feed, by the way.
You have a great Instagram
feed.
That's you really like
If you're not following him, you're missing
Yeah.
out.
At Cambassador, just ambassador with a
Cambassador.
C. It's genius.
It is
It's a
actually genius. I
Genius.
could be Jambassador, but I don't think it will work anymore.
Sorry, my dog's name is Jam, so if he ever, he would have
That's
Jambassador
right.
first. I should probably make the account and just hide it, just in case.
Cam's gonna
that's
make all the
awesome.
alphabet ambassadors.
Ambassadors, yeah.
Yeah, the ambassadors. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll sell them off. I'll make millions.
Ambassadors.
That's right. No, Cam Ambassador. No, Cam, I knew right away that this was going to be a great show because
Yeah.
you were here. And you're always so fun and engaging. And
You
I'm
are.
so glad that
Well,
we're
you guys make my
colleagues.
drive so much better. I drive all over Eastern Canada. My car is my castle. It's so comfortable. It's
very comfortable.
You guys
I've been
keep
in
me
it.
awake from Quebec City to Toronto with your jokes and your humor and so much fun. So
Well, thank you.
it's
Come
been
back
it's an honor to
anytime.
be here. I love this.
Oh, my God. Come
yes.
back anytime.
I will.
Yes.
I have lots more whiskeys to share.
Yay.
But you have
Love
questions for me,
sharing.
Patreon
Yes.
supporters. I'm so excited to ask me things. What do you
Yeah.
want to know? What do you want to know?
Oh, love it. Do it. So follow Cam on Instagram and on Twitter.
Ambassador.
Yes.
Follow Jamie Bourbon
Bourbon
Thing.
Thing.
Mark Bylock.
Still there.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank
Cam.
you.
Great show, man.
Oh,
Thank you so
cheers.
much.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Cheers.
This is voguing, right? Pretty voguing.
That's
Yeah.
not, I mean, is it? I don't know.
I feel like that's voguing. I feel like Danny Yoon taught me how to vogue the other night at Miss Things. I think that was involved.